Today I have with me Riley Combs. He is one of our consultants at Sovreign, our Bitcoin business to business consulting company. Riley has an incredible amount of experience with probably one of the top Bitcoin companies out there. And so I'm really excited to have him. And we're going to talk a little bit about today how we see ourselves helping businesses adopt Bitcoin and what we can do at Sovreign to help our clients achieve those goals. So, Riley, thank you for dialing in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning, Joe.
Hey, just can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, grew up in a small town in Indiana. Been here my whole life. Went to Butler University here in Indianapolis. Majored in risk management. So I know we have a couple other risk managers within the Bitcoiner space. So definitely relate to a lot of the things that they're saying. And I think that was one of the things that kind of helped me really grasp and understand Bitcoin. Once I really put in the time to fall down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. I guess we can kind of get into that a little bit as well. So
Sure.
During my time at Butler when I was in college, that was kind of like the ICO run and everything, and then kind of like that, the 2017 top and then crash. And so, I was kind of a part of that, reading about Bitcoin and everything, just because, basically the number go up, pulling me in, and along with a couple other friends. And so, really though, as that all kind of, did its thing and then, started to, hit close to 20,000 and then just work its way down throughout the years. Really honestly didn't pay a lot of attention to it. Kind of, kept my eye on it a little bit because I knew that there was something there. I just couldn't really like put my finger on it. And really, it just kind of came down to the lack of time, again, that I didn't put into it. So like I said, kind of kept my eye on it. And then in 2020, when obviously the world was going crazy, things were shutting down, money was being printed, left, right, and center from every central bank around the world. That was really the light bulb, moment for me, like many others. And that was also, it lined up well of like, that's when I was, getting out of college. And so I had, more time to really fall down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and, didn't have the, distractions that come with college, whether it's classes or social life. And so, so really, kind of almost 4 years now, really diving down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and enjoying every second of it.
Yeah, no, it is something that once you begin that journey and you start to, I think everyone gets in it for the number go up initially, just like probably anybody else, right? Until you actually know what Bitcoin is, you see the price and you're just like, oh, I got to get in on this. What's going on? And then the more you learn about it, it just kind of takes over and you want to learn more and you go, a lot of us I know myself, I didn't have really much of an interest in economics or any computer cryptography, nothing like that, right? I mean, I'm a little older, 43, so I didn't grow up maybe the same way you did in some of the certain ways with technology. So that really wasn't much of an interest to me. But then as soon as I started learning about Bitcoin, it was like, it's all I could really study and learn. And hey, this is why money does this and what is money and, store value and long time preference. Yeah, it is something, it isn't actually, it actually blows my mind. The more people I talk to, especially older Bitcoiners who never were into any of this stuff before, how much they really dove down and that became the focus of their life. So I think it's interesting, Riley, you come to us from an incredible organization at Swan, from an outsider looking in who, honestly, as I was transitioning out of the military, I applied a few times and never got hired because rightfully so. I didn't have much of the skills needed at that organization. But can you tell me what it was like working at a place like Swan?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I definitely filled out a couple applications myself until I finally got in the door. And really, a lot of people say, when you don't necessarily have like the direct Bitcoin experience, just it really comes down to networking and relationships and connecting with people. And so that's kind of what I did. I was working at my fiat job.
Hmm.
So ever since, graduating, to give a little bit more background, I've been at two different startups, Swan included.
Hmm.
And then I kind of had a fiat corporate job sandwiched in between there. And so from there, I was kind of working with family offices. So a very niche market, but obviously filled with, high net worth individuals, families, et cetera. And it was actually pretty interesting to see some of the exposure to Bitcoin that they had.
Yeah.
So when you see people with large amounts of money, obviously kind of investing in the same thing that you are, you're kind of on the right track outside of
Yeah,
all the other researching that you're doing.
for sure.
And so yeah, so that was something I always did. I was always constantly like reaching out to people. I had a few opportunities as well to kind of work with other Bitcoin companies, kind of freelance, part time stuff like that, just to be able to kind of like scratch that itch, but
Yeah.
kind of have dip my toes in and be able to get that experience that I could put on my resume to kind of help me stand out.
Hmm.
So yeah, so once I finally had the opportunity to begin my journey at Swan, I was on the IRA team, and so helping individuals start a new IRA, and get direct Bitcoin exposure through that, or transfer over an old IRA, or 401k that they may have had from a past employer.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so it was obviously a very unique opportunity. I definitely thrive in the startup environment. Like the corporate environment is definitely not for me necessarily. And so yeah, I mean, it was almost like being on Bitcoin Twitter, but like
Yeah.
at your employer. Obviously you have like the same sort of big personalities that are on Twitter that work at Swan.
Sure.
So it was really cool to kind of be a part of that. Obviously, like many people know at this point, I'm no, like myself and many others, I'm no longer at Swan.
Hmm.
Um, but I can, I can't say a bad thing about my time there. I really enjoyed it. The culture was great. Great people on my team and the company as a whole. Really hardworking people that just want to do the best for Bitcoin. So
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. No, they're definitely a great company, well respected, and somebody that we would, with Sovereign, if someone was interested in doing something with like an IRA or anything like that, we
yes,
someone probably them. I think Unchained's another good company that we
unchained.
would,
Yes,
look to with IRAs. But this is where I think you come in with your ability to talk to people, build relationships. I think it's been fantastic. I mean, we have some calls coming up with some partners next week that we ideally, if everything works out, we can be part of that team and we can really help businesses. Um, can you just tell me with your view of kind of where you've been with Swan and the outlook with, we see, corporate adoption, small medium enterprises. How do you see this kind of playing out over the next several months to years? I mean, we hear a lot about it in the news. It was, well, I think River just posted something like a 30-page article about like they anticipate one, like everybody having at least 1 or 2% exposure to Bitcoin. How do you see that kind of playing out?
yeah, I completely agree, and I think like the 1 to 2% is like on the low end. But of course, you always want to be very conservative,
Hmm.
and certainly anything is better than zero at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
Especially with just how much data and research is out there. After 15 years, um, a lot of people really need to get off zero at this point. It's one thing if maybe you're 5 years in and there's still not a lot of maybe information that's out there, or maybe people don't necessarily know like where to access that information. But I mean, you have mainstream media talking about it at this point. You have countless numbers of podcasts and people on
Yeah.
socials, and independent journalists talk, like it's just all over the place. And yeah, so I definitely obviously see adoption, continuing to increase. I think we are kind of getting a little over our skis though. Like I will admit, I know like everyone, in January and even leading up to that, the past couple of years, I mean, most of my time that I've really been falling down the rabbit hole, it's like, oh, the institutions are coming, the institutions are coming. And then, well, and then obviously now they're here. And but I think we by no means have like one normie adoption.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and so it's and two, like the thing that, obviously it's great, it pumps our bags or whatever you want to say. But like at the end of the day, too, like, those large institutions don't necessarily need Bitcoin right now.
Mhm.
Obviously, like, I mean, even, for MicroStrategy, like with them, even before kind of going on a Bitcoin standard, them and like many others, like, they were practically like no one really knows about them. They're basically zombie companies at that point. But because of like some of the benefits of being a publicly traded company, like you're
Mhm.
able to just kind of like prolong it. Um, and so like, yes, like obviously Bitcoin has like been beneficial to them, or any other companies that are in a similar scenario that should, honestly be adopting Bitcoin. Like,
Mhm.
I think we still need to like really focus on the individual. Of course, like with Sovereign, like the reason why I was really interested is because I think we were completely just jumping from the individual to like the massive like corporation, and
Mhm.
like no one like was really like paying attention to like small medium sized businesses.
Exactly.
And so like, I think we were kind of like missing the point there of like, Bitcoin is definitely more for, the small to medium sized business. It's obviously definitely more for the individual. But
Mhm.
when you can like work with these like small businesses that obviously don't have the benefits and the options available to them that a publicly traded company has, all they're having to work with is just like their bank account. And then like
Right.
that bank account that they work with, if they're at a community bank, maybe has a decent like high yield savings account. But if they're at
Mhm.
a Chase or whatever, like they're getting nothing on their money. And so like
Oh, for
whatever
sure.
they're bringing in, like it's just sitting in bank accounts. It's not even earning interest. It's like the 0.001 or whatever it is. It's just like
Mhm.
it's a slap in the face, whatever the exact offering is.
Yeah.
And even with the high yield, we all know that at the end of the day with inflation, it's really like a negative yielding rate.
Oh, for sure.
Um, but of course, with that though, these small businesses, because of that, like they are struggling, like they don't have the benefits of a like large corporation where that they are able to like prolong like the inevitable of like
For sure.
whenever like their business is finally like going to go out of go bankrupt or whatever. These like small medium sized businesses, like they have to like be really strategic of like how to prolong their runways. And they're also trying to like make tough decisions of like, a lot of these are like mom and pop shops that have been a part of their communities
Mhm.
for decades. And so
Yep.
they always feel bad when they're always typically like individuals who like don't necessarily like want to increase their rates or their prices on their menus or whatever the case may be. And like because they just have like so much loyalty, and they know
Mhm.
that to their community, and they know that other people within their community are like struggling, and so like they don't want to then get bashed if like they're raising their prices. But it's like because of that, like they're just getting squeezed more and more throughout the decades, and throughout
Mhm.
even just the past couple of years where like so much money has been printed
Oh,
and
yeah.
inflation has gone crazy, that all their expenses have just been skyrocketing, but maybe their prices haven't necessarily reflected that because they're too scared. And
Yeah.
so I think that's why I was really excited about this opportunity when I saw the posting, and I knew I had to reach out to you guys,
Yeah.
because really, there's not a lot of people who are focused on orange pilling the small businesses, and helping them with a Bitcoin strategy of how that can benefit their runway
Mhm.
and provide longevity to their business without having to worry about being like a crazy
Mhm.
um, stock trader to help
Yes.
pay the bills, or they're trying to like buy a ton of stuff and like bulk, and like they're trying to time, like the market of like, whatever may be good that they get. So, these people, just being able to like eliminate that stress and be able to kind of give them a peace of mind of like on a long time horizon, Bitcoin can really benefit your company,
Mhm.
and just kind of really help you like sleep better at night.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like I don't. You brought up a lot of great points there. I mean, it's hard enough managing your own business and your own funds. Do you really have to really focus on how you can, manage the market and have your best return? And what's inflation doing to my savings account? Am I really even saving if I'm not, especially if I'm not getting a yield, any kind of a yield? But even if I am, like it doesn't matter because the cost of goods is going up. And with small
Yeah.
businesses, my dad told me a story about a local like a hardware store, family owned hardware store that was in the neighborhood. And he used to say that the owner would get a hard time because his prices were more expensive than like the Lowe's or the Home Depots or the Walmarts or whatever the
Yep.
case is. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do? This is like I don't this is my own business. I'm trying to earn money, and it's more expensive, but I'm your local store that's been doing this forever, but because I can't compete. And then they
Yeah.
go out of business, right? And then I love like Eric Stack's story, and he was his cannabis farm, and he
Hmm.
was making solid money selling that by the pound in California. And then when it got approved for not only the medicinal marijuana but also the recreational use got passed California, you know he saw his basically cost per pound of what he was selling drop by like 2/3.
Yeah.
And so the only thing that really kept him afloat was he was saving in Bitcoin, and he was exceeding inflation. Like he was
Yeah.
doing pretty well, right? And that's the thing. And then when we have a company like River that just announced that you can put your cash in a savings essentially with them, and then the yield will be paid out in Bitcoin. So even
Hmm.
if you are interested and you like the idea of Bitcoin, but you're hesitant to purchase any and store it yourself initially, this is a great way for businesses to establish a savings account where there, and then they'll earn Bitcoin. I think it accrues daily and it gets paid out monthly.
Yep.
It's kind of what they said on the CEO said the other day. So that's a great opportunity for companies to do that. And then instead of seeing the value of their savings just continue to decrease because of inflation, at least with Bitcoin, you'll be able to stay afloat um, if you start accepting Bitcoin as payment. There's so many different avenues you can go with this to really help you. And what I love, and this was used by, I'm going to give credit because I didn't give him credit last time, and I told him I didn't give him credit, but Brandon Carpelli's a good friend. He said, what we're doing is we're not in this to make money. We're in this to
Hmm.
save businesses.
Hmm.
There is probably, I don't know anybody that I've personally talked to. I'm sure there's trolls online or otherwhere, but there's no one that I personally talked to who has actually sat down and studied Bitcoin that doesn't believe in what we're saying. Like
Yep.
this isn't some pyramid scheme or something
Hmm.
crazy. We're trying to. Everyone who studied this, like and understands it, gets it.
Yep.
And I think that's the important part. And this is why you are extremely valuable for us. Is you know we at our company are working with CEOs, entrepreneurs, chief financial officers, CEOs, and having someone like yourself who can educate these people. And I say educate and emphasize educate because we're not selling them Bitcoin.
Hmm.
We're educating them on the Bitcoin journey and how this can help their businesses, and what Bitcoin is, different use cases of Bitcoin. We're educating them. We're not selling them anything. So if I, for me, I don't like to be sold anything. Like I don't know many people who love to go
Yeah.
buy a car, right? And so I don't want that experience, especially when we're dealing with money, for someone to try to like sell me on something. But if you're educating me with no strings attached, other than you pay for the service,
Hmm.
then I am more open and willing to listen. And then the more that you get that education from like people like yourself who worked in the Bitcoin industry, worked with business leaders, worked with these people, you speak the same language as far as like as a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever the case is. I think that really helps our case in why we are. I think why we truly believe in what we're doing, and because we've seen the impact. You know, you've worked with business leaders, you've worked with them, you've seen businesses and people go out of business. You've seen small business owners have to shut down shop. Um, and so I think this is where I think we really come in with the overall consultant team brings so much experience and so much, just talent and, business acumen to this team that, I may be the co-CEO, but I would argue that I'm the least talented person on the team because we just have so many great people like yourself, and it's really exciting to see where we're going to take this. And I am looking forward to maybe at some point where we're at a conference as part of a panel or kind of giving a presentation. And I'm not even talking about a Bitcoin conference. I'm talking just a regular business conference in our
Yeah,
local
because
city.
we don't have to pitch at a Bitcoin conference.
No,
You know, those people are the ones that already get it. It's like, yeah, like the
exactly.
TradFi conferences, or the small business association type conferences. So
Exactly. We are not screaming into the wind. We
yeah.
are getting out there. And I think this is another part about our business that I think is amazing is it just I think like Swan, how it was mostly remote.
Mhm.
We're at all parts of the country. I
Mhm.
mean, from Massachusetts to LA to Washington State to Tampa to Texas to Louisville to we're everywhere. Like, and so we have an opportunity to meet and greet so many different people, different walks of life who really see this and want to adopt this and kind of take this on. So, but I do want to talk to you about something else because no one's really listening to hear me talk. I think you're the person they want to hear talk today. Um, can you talk about trust when it comes to Bitcoin and with us as by providing a service where we're consulting and educating people on this? Can you talk about the trust when it comes to what we're doing, and also as maybe a client of ours in the future, why that's important and why we're as transparent as possible with everything we do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, obviously, like that's like the biggest thing in Bitcoin is kind of trust like within your community, but kind of Bitcoin itself, the don't trust verify.
Hmm.
And so, but with some of these people who maybe don't necessarily know how to verify, that's of course where that trust kind of comes back in.
Hmm.
And then once they get educated, that's when people are able to not only kind of check Bitcoin, but then also check people within Bitcoin and be
Right.
like, oh no, like you're wrong, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I mean, I think that's kind of like you mentioned with us being spread out all over the place,
Hmm.
is that's like a huge benefit because especially with these small businesses, like I said earlier, like community is everything. And so I know like for myself, once we get up and running and we're working with people on a more frequent basis, like I plan on like mostly focusing within, like my community and like my state, because I want to be able to kind of get in front of people. Of course, it is convenient to, jump on a call like this,
Hmm.
or a FaceTime, whatever the case may be. But, being able to be in person, shake hands with people, kind of being able to, really have like my time and be able to ask, whatever questions that they may have or concerns, and being able to address that in person, I think really goes a long way for people, especially with a new technology that they do not
Yeah.
understand. And maybe they're older too. So like they're
Yeah.
uncomfortable with like technology in general, let alone like this like new digital money that we believe can really impact the world and potentially be the global currency one day.
Hmm.
And so being able to get in front of people really really means a lot.
Yeah.
And I know like that's kind of my focus. And so I think that's one way we can build trust. Of course too, we've talked about pretty much like wanting to have some form of partnership
Mhm.
with all of the Bitcoin companies that we really like love and appreciate.
Yep.
And so, then we're able to like give people options as well, because there's not like one company out there that, can serve one of these businesses needs for everything.
Right.
And I don't necessarily like think like that's a bad thing either. I think like, being able to have different choices is a good thing, especially in a growing, industry. And so, but it also like shows that, by no means can we ever be biased,
Right.
because we are working for you.
Mhm.
Like we are, you tell us your needs, your wants, what you need help with, and then we can come up with a proposal that can best serve your business. And
For
that
sure.
proposal is going to look different for probably like 99%
Yeah. Yeah.
of the people that we work with.
Yep.
And so then, they also like, maybe can't have the feeling of like, oh, well, I'm like worried about like them like being biased to this company or that. They can see that, we have very different plans depending on what the business, what the business does, and like what
Mhm.
the business needs for, their short term and long term future.
Yeah. No,
And
for
then,
sure. I mean, I
yeah.
would just say this, like that is even companies that we know are legit Bitcoin
Mhm.
companies, right? That we are not partners with, like maybe yet, or hopefully we are in the future.
Yeah.
Like if they have what the client would like, we're going to recommend that company to them
Mhm.
because we feel that that's the best for them. And so if we're not getting anything out of it, and we're still recommending the clients to those companies, those legitimate Bitcoin companies, to me that even that says a lot. Like, hey, these guys aren't just out there trying to make a buck and
Yeah.
push us to whatever has the best maybe partnership agreement we have, right? We're looking out for the betterment of this company and their needs and what they desire, because it is scary, especially if you are a non-coiner, pre-coiner, whatever you want to call yourself.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you're like, it's not, it doesn't have this. When you say you're buying Bitcoin to that group of people, it doesn't have the same ring as like, hey, I just bought real estate. Which,
Mhm.
if you listen to, like, I think it's Leon Wonkum, like in his talks about real estate and we can go on. That's a whole other topic. But like for us, it's just as easy to buy Bitcoin, and it's like, all right, here we go. So introducing these people to these pre-coiners, no coiners, to this industry and to the best sources of resources, I think is so important. And then I also think that, look, I am not a podcaster by any means. I have what you'd call face for radio, and so I I don't necessarily like love being out there, but what I do love about this is that we are not hiding behind some like Bored Ape Yacht Club emoji
Yeah.
or NFT or whatever. And like if if I want to do business with someone, especially this day and age where everything feels like so scammy, and people can pop up anywhere with a really cool website, and you get invested in. Next thing you know, you just got scammed. Like, we're here. I'm out there. My name's out there. I'm on social
Mhm.
media. My face is on the website. Like, I'm on here looking silly, and but but the point is, like, uh, we want to be open and transparent and out there, and
Mhm.
we're not hiding behind anything. And I
Yep.
think so that when you're looking and you're a non-coiner and all you hear about on from MSNBC or CNBC or whatever channel you watch, you hear Bitcoin, you hear Bitcoin and crypto, so you're probably googling crypto and like, hey, who's a good crypto consultant, or
Yeah.
what's a good crypto financial company. That for us to be out there as that trusted central hub for Bitcoin and Bitcoin only, and then the rivers and the swans and the on chains and the or on ramp and unchained, those companies, as amazing as they are, especially within the Bitcoin world, the the person who's not in the Bitcoin has no idea about them at this point.
Yep.
They know the Chase, they know JP Morgan, they know those Bank of America. And so if we can introduce them to those companies, and yes, they are FDIC insured, and yes, you hold your keys and all these different things, like I think, in time, with people like you, we can really bring clients, maybe it's a year from now, but maybe we start helping them with our reach all over the country. and kind of just bring more eyes onto this side of the financial industry, I guess, into Bitcoin. So it's really exciting. I know our time kind of like flew by. It's already been 30 minutes, and I know you got another engagement, but Riley, is there maybe I guess I'll just leave you with this: is any parting comments or anything you'd like to say for anyone who's maybe interested in looking at us for helping them adopt a Bitcoin strategy or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to touch on some of your points, basically, I mean, kind of what you're saying as well is, our like reputation is on the line, and like because we are like out there, like we don't hide behind like NIMS or anything, or
Yeah.
like you said, like NFTs or whatever. These people can like easily find us, and then like also like through that, I mean, we're also like very vocal about Bitcoin in our personal lives or our social media lives. And so like they can kind of check us and be like, hey, like this person isn't just like coming to me because like their like side hustle is to like scam, like
Yeah,
old like small business owners. Like, no,
exactly.
like this guy or this woman, really understands like Bitcoin, really obviously believes in it because they publicly talk about it on a very frequent basis,
Yes.
and then they also like live by what they say, by like living on a Bitcoin standard, and helping their loved ones or their friends maybe kind of see like the same light that like they do and help them live a better life, and
Mhm.
by doing so with kind of plugging in Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, just to kind of like touch on that point, and then too, yeah, it's going to be really cool as we start to get clients, because especially with how spread out we are, those business owners are then going to be able to have contacts in like different cities, and it's almost like we're going to have like our like sovereign like business owner nodes,
Yeah.
where like we're also going to be like building a community
Mhm.
where that can also really build on the trust, and clients can not only like come to us, but they can also like talk to like their peers that they of individuals that they know have also gone through our process, and people that we have helped.
For sure.
And yeah, and to like kind of close out, anyone who's like coming, I know it can be very intimidating, of course, like I said earlier, like with just new technology in general, let alone like this new digital money. But I just kind of like tell people is, it's okay to take baby steps.
Mhm.
But I've been in this, almost 5 years now of really diving in, and by no means am I a perfect Bitcoiner. And
Right.
I am constantly learning new things every single day and
Mhm.
getting comfortable with using different tools every single day. And so you just, there's a lot of layers to this onion that you need to pull back. And so really people, like, it's okay to like just like take baby steps. And really the most, I'll like leave it with this, with that comment is just, get off zero. That is the most important thing, because it will greatly benefit your business. Of course, when you adopt it to business, these business owners will also probably adopt it for their personal lives. So it's it's kind of a 2 for 1, where
Yeah.
we're educating these business owners, and then they're going back and having those conversations with their spouse and their children and their family, and they're adopting a Bitcoin standard. And so that's how this really grows. And so yeah, just that first step, get off zero, and over time, as you get comfortable with everything, you'll kind of graduate up through the levels. So
Yeah. We might have to change the name of the podcast to Get Off Zero. I like it. It has a better ring to it. All right. Well, hey, Riley, it's great talking to you. I look forward to talking to you again here shortly. And I think we're going to grow this company with the help of a lot of great people to some pretty good heights. So thank you so much for spending your time with us.
yeah, thanks for the invitation, and I'm really excited to get to work with you guys. So thanks for having me on.
All right.